Rhaenyra has got a dreamer. A dragon rider has been deeply insulted. Somewhere 5 dragon eggs have been found, and the Iron Throne has given Rhaenyra a cut. I hadn't thought that Season 3 Episode 6 of Thousand Dragons would be packed with so many details. But that's the beauty of this world. So let's enhance your episode watching experience with this fantastic breakdown. So the episode began with its war theme intro. This time, at the end of the intro, 2 people were shown dragging someone. These are 2 assassins who are eliminating the gold cloaks, which we also saw in the previous episode. The series creators keep adding very small pieces to the intro. By now it's more or less clear that this season will end only with a big war, some hints of which we will discuss ahead. After the intro, what happens is what Criston Cole was talking about in the previous episode. Cole and his companions have reached their doom. We saw in the previous episode how Cole was wasting the time of the Rivermen and the North's Greybeards on the way to King's Landing. But the Rivermen and Greybeards tricked them, got ahead, and kept ruining their entire path. Now this was the final revenge on Cole, whose men were surrounded from all sides. Now remember what Cole said in the previous episode. He said he wouldn't go serving anyone. He would face his doom freely. People would sing songs about him, and Queen Alicent herself would listen to them. There was bravery in this thought, and here at the start of the episode Cole puts up a tremendous fight against the sudden attackers. Plus, we saw him fighting with a flail here, and he is an expert with this weapon, because in the series' first tourney, he beats Demon with a flail. After winning here, Cole also shouts, "We light the way," which are the words of House Hightower, and later, after falling, he even offers that he, the leader of his team, will fight alone against the Rivermen leader Oscar Tully and the Greybeards leader Ricard Dustin, also known as Roddy the Ruin. But Black Aly didn't agree to this. Now I'd like to talk a bit about the book here because, sure, it's shown that Cole offered to fight a boy and an old man, but in the book he offered that his men be spared, and in return he would fight 3 men, and there he is told he needs 3 more. They didn't want songs to be sung about how bravely Criston Cole the Kingmaker died, so 3 different archers bring him down with their arrows. In the series, literally the same death is given to Cole as in the book, and you'll notice a parallel between Cole's death and Jackery's death. Both were killed by arrows, and here too, just before Cole dies, the music stopped, making the ending feel more surprising. Plus, what the Rivermen and Greybeards did to his army after Cole died was butchery. They themselves admit that. That's why in the book this event is known as the Butcher's Ball. Rhaenyra's enemy, because of whom all this was happening, was killed. Criston Cole was Alicent's biggest supporter. A formidable warrior who trained Aemond. The same warrior who crowned Aegon, which gave him the name Kingmaker. He planned the end of Rhaenys and her dragon malaise at Rook's Rest. The fight between the Cargill brothers happened because of Cole. Later he became Hand of the King on the green side. And now his end came before him when he messed with the wrong people. While dying, Cole takes out Alicent's handkerchief for the last time. This handkerchief was given to him by Alicent in Season 2 Episode 3 as a blessing. But after that, Cole's countdown began. Yet one has to say, the best and worst Kingsguard of the Dance of the Dragons went with a simple ending. You can't praise Fabian Frankel, who plays Criston Cole, enough. It's because of his tremendous performance that Criston Cole could come perfectly from book to screen. In A Song of Ice and Fire, in A Feast for Crows Chapter 16, Jaime Lannister and Loras Tyrell also talk about Criston Cole at one point, where they say the Kingmaker is remembered as a Kingsguard who was both the best and the worst. I've already told you about Black Aly, who killed him, in the Season 3 Episode 1 breakdown, that she is going to be a very important character at the end of the whole Dance of the Dragons. On the other side, Alicent and Heleena, who were stuck in the secret passages at the end of the previous episode, have been found by the guards. Now sure, Alicent and Helena's secret escape attempt got caught. But one thing to think about is that Alicent has no idea Criston Cole is dead. Plus, as I told you in my previous episode breakdown, Rhaenyra had also gone to King's Landing through these same passages in Season 1. Whereas now when Alicent is using these passages, they are closed for her. This shows the parallel between Rhaenyra and Alicent, where Rhaenyra always had the freedom to do as she pleased, while Alicent has always been bound by duty. Ahead, we see Rhaenyra's small council meeting where Daemon is telling everyone what happened in King's Landing. Now see, Daemon was right from the start about paying salaries to the City Watch soldiers. He was also right that Rhaenyra should ignore unnecessary insults. Rhaenyra is now suffering the results of not listening to these things. The City Watch men have taken off their gold cloaks because an empty pocket doesn't want to risk danger, and by responding to insults, Rhaenyra has made herself look bad among the small folk. On top of all this, Daemon is saying about Tumbleton that they should burn the Hightower army at Tumbleton. This is technically correct, because Gwayne Hightower appears ahead and says he is sitting with the assumption that Rhaenyra doesn't have the guts to burn Tumbleton to destroy the Hightowers. And this is true because Rhaenyra herself doesn't want that. And besides Daemon, the other council members don't want it either, which is why Gwayne Hightower is able to cause so much devastation. Here Daemon compares burning Tumbleton to Aegon the Conqueror, how Aegon the Conqueror burned thousands of people at the Field of Fire. Now the Field of Fire is a very interesting event. During Aegon the Conqueror's conquest of the Seven Kingdoms, King Loren Lannister of Casterly Rock and King Mern Gardner of the Reach joined hands, and came with an army of 55,000 people to take on Aegon's army. This number was 5 times more than Aegon's army. So as soon as they started their attack on the open field south of the Blackwater, Aegon and his sisters came on their respective dragons and burned the entire open field. House Gardner was wiped out. 5,000 soldiers of the Lannisters and Gardners were killed, 10,000 burned, and from the Targaryen side only 100 soldiers died. This event is known as the Field of Fire. You'll see this in the intro as well, where dragons are shown from 2 sides. Here the shield also has the sigil of House Gardner. Now Rhaenyra says the Field of Fire and Tumbleton cannot be considered the same. Tumbleton has already bent the knee, whereas at the Field of Fire those people came to fight. But as Aemond himself is planning that Rhaenyra should stay put, and until then other houses come to help the Hightowers. Although this time Rhaenyra did attack. So representatives of House Baratheon came to her to answer her summons. Now it's not just about the summons. Rhaenyra had sent a call to Lord Borros Baratheon. That Borros Baratheon, in whose court Rhaenyra's son Lucerys Velaryon had gone to remind him of his house's oath. Rhaenyra is showing anger at the House Baratheon representative for this very reason, and it makes complete sense because Borros Baratheon is not only sitting forgetting the oath, but somewhere he also provoked Aemond to go after Lucerys. The House Baratheon representative is now saying that Borros Baratheon has gone to fight the Vulture King on the Red Mountains. Now Vulture King is not the name of a single person. It's a title used by Dornish rebels who use the Red Mountains base. The first Vulture King emerged during the reign of Aenys Targaryen, son of Aegon the Conqueror. Whereas now the Vulture King Borros Baratheon has gone to fight is the third Vulture King. Now there's another point here. Aemond has also asked Borros Baratheon for help. Borros is currently looking for Aemond because Borros' support for the Greens was on the condition that Aemond would marry one of Borros' daughters. Now it remains to be seen whether Borros' daughter marries Aemond or Daeron. But of course Rhaenyra didn't get the chance to question Borros. But she used his representative's clothes to finish Daeron's game. This would have been Rhaenyra's first successful attack if Gwayne hadn't used his full night knowledge. But we'll discuss this in more detail later. Now let's talk about the 2 bastard dragon riders. Ulf and Hugh are taking turns patrolling outside Tumbleton on their respective dragons. Did you notice the interaction of their dragons Vermithor and Silverwing? So Vermithor and Silverwing have been together for a very long time. These two dragons used to belong to the longest reigning king and queen of the Targaryens. Vermithor was King Jaehaerys' dragon, and Silverwing was his wife Queen Alysanne's dragon. Both dragons love each other. This is mentioned in the book as well, and we are definitely seeing it in the show. Both of them have acquired only 2 riders in their entire lifetime. Old King Jaehaerys and Hugh Hammer were Vermithor's riders, and Queen Alysanne and Ulf were Silverwing's riders. Hugh Hammer has confirmed in the show that he is the bastard son of Saara Targaryen, daughter of King Jaehaerys. If I ever get a chance, I'll tell you Saara's colorful story too. But for now, let's come to the riders of Vermithor and Silverwing. In this episode, Ulf clearly sees that he wasn't expecting to be denied going to the tavern after becoming a dragon rider. When he didn't have a dragon, he used to brag so much there. So now that he really has a dragon, he's not even being allowed to brag. Plus, his insult is happening back to back. Daemon had already slapped Ulf in episode 2 of this season. Ulf expected he would get a castle, he would become a lord, but nothing like that happened. And although Ulf even then makes it clear that the life of a dragon rider is much better. So that was okay up to here. But where Daemon slapped him last time in private in front of Hugh, in this episode he beat Ulf in front of the whole flea bottom and told him one thing: if he sets foot in the city again, he'll gouge his eyes out. Now Daemon has directly told Ulf not to show his face in King's Landing. Now no matter how cowardly or timid Ulf is, he is still a dragon rider. He has a weapon, because of which the Targaryens have ruled all of Westeros. Ulf will only be able to tolerate insult up to a point. Plus, did you notice that when Daemon was beating Ulf, a girl saw it and suddenly ran away from there? This girl is the same one who appeared in Flea Bottom in the previous episode when Daemon and Ser Luther noticed that some city watchmen had been killed. This same girl goes and tells the man who is eliminating city watchmen in King's Landing for Gwayne Hightower. Now in the behind-the-scenes video that comes after every episode of House of the Dragon, this man has been called the Blue-Eyed Man. We'll talk about him in more detail later. First, let's come back to this girl. So this girl saw Daemon beating Ulf. Now this means she will take this information to Aemond so he can use this info. And how he will use it, the book readers would have understood. But we all will see what happens ahead. Talking about Hugh, Hugh is doing more than just patrolling outside Tumbleton with Vermithor. Taking the disguise of a man from Tumbleton, he has sneaked into the town and goes to meet his wife, who wasn't that happy to see Hugh. If you remember the events of the previous season, Hugh lived in King's Landing with his wife and daughter, where due to the blockade of the gullet, they had nothing to eat like the rest of King's Landing's people. Because of that, his sick daughter dies. After that, his wife Cat needed him. Even then he leaves on Rhaenyra's call to Dragonstone to claim a dragon. His wife thinks Hugh is dead, and she comes to Tumbleton to her brother. Tumbleton is currently under Aemond's control, and Cat is facing many difficulties, and has also lost her brother. Now seeing Hugh gives her more grief than happiness, and obviously now she can't leave her brother's family. The family that even fought the Hightower army to save her honor. Now it remains to be seen what effect all this has on the rider of Vermithor, who until today thought he was doing all this for the good days of his family. Now let's come to the Blue-Eyed Man. Well, I didn't really find this man's eyes blue, but his way of speaking felt familiar. So when Daemon wears a gold cloak and traps the Blue-Eyed Man in his net, his reply is something like, "We are countless, we are everywhere," and he calls Daeron a king and also calls him Daeron the Daring. Daeron was called Daeron the Daring in the book after a particular event. But here, without Daeron even proving himself, he has started being called Day on the Daring. Now let's talk about who the blue-eyed man could be. The episode is named Faceless Man, and this blue-eyed man's way of speaking and confidence was somewhat similar to where we saw the faceless man Jaqen H'ghar in Game of Thrones. Faceless men eliminate their targets without leaving any clues. It's a religious society of assassins who worship the many-faced god. And if this blue-eyed man is a faceless man, and if Aemond Hightower has hired him to bring chaos in King's Landing, then no doubt they'll be successful in their work. The blue-eyed man also says to Demon that they are countless. So now it remains to be seen whether this episode was just named Faceless Man, or if more work of the Faceless Men is yet to be shown. Now let's come to Aemond Hightower. So Gwayne left Criston Cole's company at the right time, and came to Aemond at Tumbleton. Now we had heard Gwayne telling Cole in the previous episode that he has been letting Aemond win since childhood on many occasions. And we've also seen how Aemond behaves on losing, which makes Aemond a bully. Now Gwayne has come to meet his bully, where he understands that Aemond is on a path that leads to a certain end because he is underestimating Rhaenyra, thinking she isn't capable of ordering a dragon attack on Tumbleton. Now Gwayne is smart and knows that underestimating the enemy is foolishness. On the other hand, I was surprised to see how Darren's behavior changed as soon as Gwayne arrived, meaning he knows what Aemond is doing and isn't blindly following him, but is with him out of compulsion. Plus, Gwayne proves very useful here for everyone, where he recognizes the fake Baratheon representative sent by Rhaenyra, because a mark of a good knight is that they know knights of other houses. We've seen Jaime Lannister do this in Game of Thrones too. Now, while Aemond was ignoring Gwayne's words and considering Rhaenyra weak, his pride was shattered. After the scene with Marjorie, likely a typo for a place or person, perhaps market, or a name, might be a misprint. I'll keep as Marjorie, but it might refer to something else. Could be Margate, or the Maester. I'll leave it as a name. Aemond, about whom Alicent had already said he is sensitive, got his backside handed to him regarding the smell. This shows that Aemond is not as much of a hero as he pretends to be, whereas Gwayne, who has seen the world, knows when and how to make decisions. That's why he's talking about going to Old Town, so that when Aemond falls prey to the dragons, there should be a Hightower in Old Town to become its lord. Now let's come to Rhaenyra becoming a bad queen. So Rhaenyra is keeping Alicent and Heleena under strict guard in captivity, those who were trying to escape, where Alicent has told Rhaenyra that Heleena is pregnant. Plus, here Mysaria was tested, who knew that Heleena was pregnant but didn't tell Rhaenyra, meaning she wants to keep favor with the Hightowers. However, she gets that maid caught through whom Alicent and Heleena were trying to escape. Mysaria's story is about to pick up an interesting angle. Coming back to Rhaenyra, her answers in court were a bit shocking. When the first man comes and says there's a shortage of tallow, i.e., fat or lamp oil, Rhaenyra tells him to talk to the master of coin, Torrhen Manderly. Then after that, when the Septa who worships the Fae says that due to the shortage of city watchmen, a girl from her mother house was abducted, Rhaenyra's response was that she would go to the Sept and pray for her, lighting a candle. Now how will she light a candle when there's a shortage of tallow? And what kind of answer was this that some religious lady was abducted and Rhaenyra will just pray for her? Anyone can pray for troubled people. So what's the need for a queen or king? After this, a big question comes before Rhaenyra. Due to the shortage of city watchmen, who will take care of the small folk of King's Landing? Now this is the most important question. I told you in the previous episode that without the city watch, King's Landing would descend into chaos. To deal with it, no matter how many Valyrian men Rhaenyra calls, managing this chaos is difficult, and this is what every ruler of the Iron Throne fears. The cut from the Iron Throne. Rhaenyra's finger has been cut by the Iron Throne. Now this is a very big deal for a ruler of Westeros. Basically, it's a superstition in Westeros that if a ruler gets a cut from the throne, it means the throne is rejecting that ruler. Although Viserys, who is considered a good king, we saw getting cut by the throne in Season 1 Episode 1, when he was scolding Daemon in his court. Now Viserys' heir Rhaenyra has got a cut from the throne. Now look, the superstition is a myth. Basically, Aegon the Conqueror had the Iron Throne built from the swords of those who bent the knee to him in the Field of Fire and other battles during his conquest. Now, a throne made of these swords means that the rulers sitting on it must make decisions calmly and fully conscious for their people. If they lose control over themselves, or let any emotion affect their judgment, then the person will get cut by the throne. So Viserys gets cut in the grief of his son's death and anger at Daemon celebrating it. Rhaenyra got upset when the public came to her with questions she had no answer for, and that's why she got cut. However, what effect this cut will have on her psychology will be interesting to see. But she got very important information. Alicent, likely Alice Rivers, but text says, which is Alicent. It says, that's Alicent notices Aemond's location in Helena's needlework. Earlier text, they've used for Alicent. So I'll translate as Alicent notices Aemond's location in Helena's needlework. And she tells Rhaenyra about this, where she tells her that Helena's dreams come true. Now this is a very big thing for Rhaenyra. This is a very big thing for the Targaryens. Now Rhaenyra's father Viserys told her at the end of Season 1 Episode 1 that two powers have been seen in the Targaryens. First, being a dragon rider, and second, being a dreamer. Daenerys the dreamer had already seen the doom of Valyria in her dream. And the Targaryens left Valyria years before the doom came to Dragonstone, and survived the doom. Aegon the Conqueror dreamed the Song of Ice and Fire, in which he saw a winter that would come from the north and destroy humans, and take the realm into darkness. That's why Aegon started the conquest. That's why the Targaryens could survive the doom. This power is greater than dragon riding, which Alicent and her sons didn't know about. This information is passed by the ruling king to his heir, who will sit on the throne after him. That's why only Rhaenyra knows about this. And now it remains to be seen how she will use it. Talking about Alicent, she had already become the enemy of her sons' lives. Now Rhaenyra has sent her herself with an assassin to eliminate Aemond. This is very shocking and something that didn't happen in the book. Plus, this means Alicent will leave Heleena alone and go to Harrenhal. That Heleena, whose dreamer powers she has told Rhaenyra about. Now before going to Harrenhal, Alicent talks to Heleena, and this conversation literally broke my heart. When Heleena asks her mother, "Did no other lord ask for my hand?" It was very sad. Heleena is the most different from Aegon and Aemond. A nature-loving girl who lives in her own world. Her fate was controlled by Otto and Alicent for their own benefit. Where she just wanted to live under the open sky, today she's locked in a palace room. Her father never paid attention to her. Her mother never paid attention to her. Her son is gone. Aegon isn't here either. And right now she is pregnant. After Alicent leaves, she will be alone. Rhaenyra had proposed in front of Alicent in Season 1 Episode 6 that her son Jace could marry Heleena. But Alicent didn't agree. In Season 1 Episode 8, Jace asks Heleena to dance, where Heleena looks happy dancing with Jace. But after that, nothing good happened in Helena's life. Now Alicent has left, promising Heleena she will come back to her as soon as she gets a chance. Now while Rhaenyra isn't able to solve the problems of King's Landing's people, and is getting a cut on her hand, Aegon shows another side of character development. When Tywin tells him that instead of going to Essos with Larys, he should go to Casterly Rock. So Aegon asks him a simple question. Am I a despicable man? When Tywin can't answer, Aegon decides he will go with Larys. Now this is a very big thing. Aegon, who has always been among yes-man friends, now understands that he will only listen to the person who looks him in the eye and tells him the bitter truth. This quality was also in Viserys, because of which he always chose capable hands, and now Aegon is moving forward wisely and going to Essos. On the other side, Daemon's daughter Rhaenyra is hiding in the Vale, but wants to meet her sister Baela. However, for this, Lady Jane Arryn beats her, explaining that her being seen is bad news for both her and Lady Jane, because then they both won't be able to survive Rhaenyra's anger. Meanwhile, Baela, whose chemistry was shown in the previous episode with Adam, got intimate with Alan in this episode. This was a very out-of-the-blue scene, where without any setup, two characters were shown close. Before this, they were seen together, looking for Corlys after the Battle of the Gullet. On top of all this, Baela's characterization is being shown very differently from the book's Baela. The book's Baela is very free-spirited, roaming around, meeting boys. She's also called a bit boyish. Whereas here Baela, who lost her betrothed just a week and a half ago, is now getting close to Alan. On the other hand, there are other characters whose chemistry has been set up. Aemond wants to leave without Vhagar, but Rhaenyra has put a bounty on him. Along with this, Alicent saves him from the news getting out and shows him something no Targaryen even dreamed of. There are 5 dragon eggs at Harrenhal. Now this is something interesting. What are dragon eggs doing here at Harrenhal? So these are eggs of Dreamfire, the dragon of Rhaenyra Targaryen, the first granddaughter of Aegon the Conqueror. Dreamfire was born at the same time Rhaenyra was born. This she-dragon currently belongs to Heleena, Rhaenyra Targaryen, also known as the Queen in the West. Her life was very tragic. At one point, her daughter Arya dies. After that, Rhaenyra doesn't want to return to Dragonstone and goes to Harrenhal, where with age her hair turns white, and the small folk there start calling her a witch, just like they call Alice Rivers a witch. Rhaenyra spent the last 17 years of her life at Harrenhal and died there, where her dragon Dreamfire was with her until her death, which gave these 5 eggs here. Now the thing is, these 5 eggs aren't even mentioned in the books. In the books, it's mentioned that 3 of Dreamfire's eggs were stolen by Rhaenyra's friend Alyssa Farman on Dragonstone. But there's no information about these 5 eggs. Now Aemond feels that these eggs are still warm, whereas it shouldn't be, and eggs are placed with Targaryen babies so that when the eggs hatch, the little dragon can bond with the child. That's why Aemond is now thinking something that never crossed his mind: starting his own family with Alice Rivers. Now it remains to be seen how this plan fits with Rhaenyra's plan to send an assassin. Now in watching, you probably didn't realize this episode was carrying so many details. But in my opinion, this is the most information-carrying episode so far. Gwayne Hightower proved to be the MVP here, and we hope nothing bad happens to him ahead. If the next episode also goes into setup, then maybe we'll get to see a battle only in episode 8. Until then, you tell me, what do you think Heleena's future will be? What will Alicent do with Aemond? And what meaning did you draw from Rhaenyra getting a cut from the Iron Throne? We've made a top 10 list of Westeros warriors, dragons, and Season 1's amazing moments. So I would like you not to forget to watch those videos. Let's discuss all this in detail in the comments. If you liked the video, do like it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, take a step forward and support your favorite channel by taking membership. Thank you guys. This is Asena, and you are super. Peace.